In the vast and intricate tapestry of Greek mythology, few creatures are as iconic and fearsome as Cerberus, the legendary three-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld. Known as the loyal servant of Hades, the god of the underworld, Cerberus plays a critical role in maintaining the balance between life and death. This terrifying beast is not just a guardian, but a symbol of the formidable power of death itself, standing as a vigilant sentinel at the threshold between the living and the dead. The very image of Cerberus, with his three snarling heads and serpent-like appendages, has captured the imagination of countless generations, inspiring stories, artwork, and interpretations that span millennia. To fully grasp the significance of Cerberus, one must delve deep into his origins, his symbolic meanings, and his enduring impact on culture and thought. The myth of Cerberus is a rich and complex one, deeply woven into the fabric of ancient Greek beliefs about death, the afterlife, and the boundaries between the mortal world and the divine. In this exploration, we will journey through the ancient tales that gave birth to Cerberus, examining his fearsome lineage and the monstrous parents who shaped his terrifying form. We will explore the intricate symbolism embedded in his three heads and serpentine features, unraveling the layers of meaning that the ancients ascribed to this formidable guardian. Moreover, we will consider how Cerberus's role as the gatekeeper of the underworld reinforces the power and authority of Hades, the god who rules over the dead. By tracing Cerberus's appearances in mythological narratives, we will also see how this creature has been used to illustrate themes of heroism, art, and the inevitability of death. Finally, we will reflect on how Cerberus has continued to influence Western culture, from literature and art to modern psychology and philosophy, proving that his legacy is as enduring as it is fearsome. Cerberus's origins are as awe-inspiring as the creature itself, rooted in the very core of Greek mythology's pantheon of monsters. He is the offspring of Typhon and Echidna, two of the most terrifying beings in Greek myth. Typhon, his father, was a monstrous giant whose mere presence struck fear into the hearts of gods and mortals alike. Described as a being with 100 dragon heads, each capable of producing fire and venom, Typhon was the embodiment of chaos and destruction. He represented the raw, untamed forces of nature, capable of laying waste to entire landscapes with his might. Echidna, his mother, was no less fearsome. Known as the Mother of Monsters, Echidna was a half-woman, half-serpent creature who gave birth to some of the most terrifying creatures in Greek mythology. Her lower half was that of a snake, and she lived deep within a cave, hidden from the world, nurturing her monstrous offspring. The union of Typhon and Echidna was a convergence of the most fearsome and chaotic elements of Greek mythology, and their offspring were destined to be creatures of unparalleled terror. Cerberus was not their only child. His siblings were equally formidable and contributed to the pantheon of Greek monsters that challenged heroes and gods alike. Among them was the Lernaean Hydra, a multi-headed serpent whose heads would multiply if severed. This creature was so fearsome that it became one of the 12 labors of Hercules, who ultimately defeated it through a combination of strength and cunning. Another sibling was the Chimera, a fire-breathing creature with the body of a lion, the head of a goat arising from its back, and a serpent for a tail. The Chimera was a symbol of chaos and destruction, a creature so terrifying that its very name has come to signify any wild, unrealistic dream or idea. The Sphinx, another sibling, was a creature with the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the face of a woman. Known for her riddles, the Sphinx guarded the city of Thebes and posed a deadly challenge to anyone who wished to pass. These creatures, along with Cerberus, formed a family of monsters that embodied the darkest and most dangerous aspects of the natural and supernatural world. Cerberus, however, stood apart from his siblings not just in form, but in function. While the other monsters roamed the earth, spreading terror and chaos, Cerberus's domain was the underworld, the realm of the dead. His role was unique and critical to the order of the cosmos, as he served as the gatekeeper of the underworld, ensuring that the dead remained within and the living stayed out. This function made him an essential figure in the mythological structure of the afterlife, where he was seen not merely as a monster, but as a guardian of the natural order. The physical description of Cerberus is as striking as it is symbolic. The most prominent feature of Cerberus is his 3 heads, each one capable of unleashing a terrifying barrage of barks and growls that would deter any would-be intruders or escapees. These 3 heads have been subject to various interpretations over the centuries. In one interpretation, they represent the past, present, and future, symbolizing Cerberus's omniscience and his control over time as it relates to life and death. In another interpretation, the 3 heads symbolize the stages of life: birth, life, and death, with Cerberus serving as a reminder that death is the final stage that none can escape. The 3 heads also reflect the idea of multiplicity and the complexity of life and death, suggesting that Cerberus is a guardian not just of a physical realm, but of a metaphysical one as well. Beyond his 3 heads, Cerberus is often depicted with a serpent-like tail, another feature that emphasizes his monstrous and hybrid nature. The serpent has long been a symbol of danger, death, and the unknown in various cultures, and in Greek mythology, it often represents the chthonic, or underworld, forces. The inclusion of serpent-like elements in Cerberus's design reinforces his role as a creature of the underworld, a being that is intrinsically linked to death and the mysteries that lie beyond it. In some depictions, Cerberus is also shown with additional serpentine features, such as snakes protruding from his back or neck, further enhancing his terrifying appearance and emphasizing his role as a creature that exists beyond the natural world. Cerberus's overall size and strength are also crucial aspects of his physical description. He is often depicted as a massive creature towering over humans and other animals, his sheer size alone enough to inspire fear. This colossal size serves as a physical manifestation of his role as the ultimate barrier between the living and the dead. No ordinary creature could challenge him. Only the greatest of heroes could hope to subdue or outwit him. This immense size, combined with his multiple heads and serpentine features, makes Cerberus a symbol of the insurmountable power of death and the underworld. The symbolism of Cerberus extends beyond his physical form to encompass broader themes of life, death, and the boundaries between them. As the guardian of the underworld, Cerberus is a constant reminder of the inevitability of death. His 3 heads, each potentially representing different aspects of time or life stages, suggest that death is an integral part of the natural order, a force that cannot be avoided or denied. The serpent-like elements of his design further underscore his connection to the chthonic forces of the earth and the underworld, emphasizing the idea that death is a return to the earth, a rejoining of the natural cycle. Cerberus also represents the concept of boundary and threshold. He is the ultimate gatekeeper, standing at the threshold between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. In this role, he embodies the idea of liminality, the state of being on the threshold, in between two different states of existence. This liminal nature makes Cerberus a powerful symbol of transition and the passage from life to death. He is not just a physical guardian, but a metaphysical one, ensuring that the boundary between life and death is respected and maintained. In conclusion, Cerberus is far more than just a monstrous creature in Greek mythology. He is a complex symbol of death, time, and the boundaries between worlds. His origins in the fearsome union of Typhon and Echidna, his terrifying physical form with its multiple heads and serpentine elements, and his role as the guardian of the underworld all contribute to his enduring legacy as a figure of fear and fascination. Through the myth of Cerberus, the ancient Greeks expressed their understanding of the natural order, the inevitability of death, and the importance of respecting the boundaries between life and death. As we continue to explore his myth, we will see how Cerberus's story resonates through the ages, influencing literature, art, and thought in profound and lasting ways. Cerberus's role as the gatekeeper of the underworld is one of the most critical and defining aspects of his myth. Unlike other mythical creatures who might roam the earth or terrorize cities, Cerberus's domain is the boundary between life and death itself. Stationed at the gates of the underworld, his primary function is to prevent the dead from escaping and the living from entering, a task that he performs with unwavering dedication and fearsome power. The underworld in Greek mythology, ruled by the god Hades, is a realm of shadows where the souls of the dead reside. It is not a place of torment in the Christian sense of hell, but rather a somber and inevitable destination for all mortals. The Greeks believed that after death, a soul would be escorted to the underworld by Hermes, the messenger god, where it would cross the river Styx with the help of Charon, the ferryman. Once across, the soul would be judged and assigned its place in the underworld. The dead were meant to stay in the underworld for eternity, their fate sealed and their ties to the living world severed. This separation between the realms of the living and the dead was essential to the Greek conception of the cosmos, and Cerberus was the enforcer of this boundary. Cerberus's vigilance ensures that the natural order is maintained. In ancient Greek thought, the idea of a dead soul escaping the underworld and returning to the world of the living was a violation of natural law. Such an event would disrupt the balance of life and death, leading to chaos. Similarly, if the living were able to enter the underworld freely, it would blur the line between the two realms, challenging the authority of Hades and the inevitability of death. Cerberus, with his terrifying presence and unmatched strength, acts as the ultimate deterrent to any such transgressions. His three heads, which can see in all directions, symbolize his ability to monitor and control both the entrance and exit of the underworld. There is no escape from his watchful gaze, no passage without his permission. Cerberus's role also serves to underscore the power of Hades. While Hades himself is often depicted as a stern but just ruler of the underworld, it is through Cerberus that his authority is enforced. Cerberus is not merely a servant of Hades. He is an extension of the god's will, embodying the inescapable nature of death and the finality of the underworld. To challenge Cerberus is to challenge Hades, and by extension, to challenge the very laws of the universe. This makes Cerberus a symbol of divine order, a creature whose existence is necessary to maintain the balance between life and death, Moreover, Cerberus's position at the gates of the underworld highlights the idea of the underworld as a separate, sacred space. In many cultures, boundaries and thresholds are considered powerful and sometimes dangerous places where different realms or states of being meet. The gates of the underworld are one such threshold, marking the transition from life to death, from the world of the living to the domain of the dead. Cerberus, as the guardian of this threshold, is a liminal figure, one who exists at the boundary between worlds. His presence at this critical juncture emphasizes the importance of the boundary itself, reinforcing the idea that death is a transition that cannot be reversed or escaped. The mythological accounts of Cerberus are rich and varied, each contributing to the complex character of this fearsome creature. Cerberus is often featured in stories where his role as the gatekeeper of the underworld brings him into contact with some of the most notable figures in Greek mythology. These stories not only highlight his formidable nature, but also explore themes of cunning, bravery, and the power of art and music. One of the earliest and most famous stories involving Cerberus is the tale of Psyche. Psyche, a mortal woman of extraordinary beauty, became the lover of Eros, the god of love. However, after a series of trials and tribulations, Psyche was forced to descend into the underworld to retrieve a box containing a portion of Persephone's beauty as part of a task set by the goddess Aphrodite. To succeed, Psyche had to pass Cerberus, the fearsome guardian of the underworld's gates. Unlike many others who faced Cerberus, Psyche did not rely on strength or direct confrontation. Instead, she used cunning and resourcefulness. She brought with her 2 honey cakes soaked in a potent drug. When she encountered Cerberus, she offered him the cakes, and the drugged treats lulled him into a temporary stupor, allowing her to pass safely. This story illustrates not only Cerberus's role as an obstacle that must be overcome to enter the underworld, but also the theme of intelligence and cunning triumphing over brute force. Another famous story involving Cerberus is the tale of Orpheus. Orpheus, the legendary musician and poet, descended into the underworld to retrieve his beloved wife, Eurydice, who had died from a snake bite. Orpheus's music was so powerful that it could charm anyone who heard it, even the gods. When Orpheus encountered Cerberus at the gates of the underworld, he did not attempt to fight or trick the beast. Instead, he played his lyre, and the beauty of his music soothed the savage nature of Cerberus. The 3-headed dog, lulled by the enchanting melodies, allowed Orpheus to pass unchallenged. This story highlights the power of art and beauty, suggesting that even the most fearsome and unyielding forces can be moved by the transcendent power of music. Perhaps the most famous myth involving Cerberus is the 12th and final labor of Hercules. Hercules, known for his immense strength and heroic deeds, was tasked by King Eurystheus to capture Cerberus and bring him to the surface world. This task was intended to be impossible, as Cerberus was not only terrifyingly strong, but also a creature of the underworld, a place no living mortal could venture without consequence. To accomplish this labor, Hercules first sought permission from Hades, who allowed him to take Cerberus, provided he could do so without using weapons. Hercules, with his unparalleled strength, grappled with Cerberus, and after a fierce struggle, subdued the beast with his bare hands. He then brought Cerberus to Eurystheus, who was so terrified at the sight of the creature that he hid in a large jar. After showing Cerberus to the king, Hercules dutifully returned the creature to the underworld. This story not only showcases Hercules' incredible strength and courage, but also symbolizes his ability to confront and overcome death itself. By capturing Cerberus, Hercules temporarily bridged the gap between life and death, achieving what no other mortal could. These mythological accounts contribute to the rich tapestry of stories surrounding Cerberus. Each tale offers a different perspective on the creature's role and nature, whether it be as a fearsome obstacle, a being susceptible to the power of music and art, or a challenge that only the greatest of heroes can overcome. Through these stories, Cerberus becomes more than just a monstrous guardian. He becomes a symbol of the trials and challenges that one must face when dealing with the mysteries of life and death. Moreover, these stories also reflect the Greek understanding of the underworld and its boundaries. Cerberus, as the gatekeeper, is not merely a passive guardian, but an active participant in the myths that explore the limits of human experience. His encounters with figures like Psyche, Orpheus, and Hercules illustrate the tension between life and death, the living and the dead, and the power of various forces, whether cunning, art, or strength, to navigate these realms. Cerberus, in these myths, is both a literal and symbolic representation of the challenges that come with crossing boundaries, whether they be physical, moral, or existential. In sum, the mythological accounts of Cerberus serve to deepen our understanding of this complex creature. They show us that Cerberus is not just a terrifying monster, but a symbol of the challenges and mysteries that lie at the heart of the human experience. His role in these stories underscores his importance in Greek mythology, not only as a guardian of the underworld, but as a figure that represents the ultimate questions of life, death, and what lies beyond. Through these tales, Cerberus remains an enduring symbol of the power and mystery of the underworld, a creature whose story continues to resonate across the ages. Cerberus's influence extends far beyond the boundaries of ancient Greek mythology, permeating various aspects of culture, literature, and thought throughout Western history. As one of the most iconic figures in Greek myth, Cerberus has been referenced and reinterpreted by countless authors, artists, and thinkers, each of whom has contributed to the enduring legacy of this fearsome creature. From ancient literary works to modern psychological theories, Cerberus's presence is a testament to the lasting impact of mythology on the human imagination. In ancient literature, Cerberus is mentioned in several key texts that have shaped our understanding of Greek mythology. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, two of the foundational works of Western literature, make reference to Cerberus, highlighting his role as the guardian of the underworld. In the Odyssey, for instance, Odysseus must navigate the dangers of the underworld during his journey home, and while Cerberus is not a central figure in this particular tale, his presence looms large as a symbol of the ultimate boundary that even a hero like Odysseus cannot cross without dire consequences. Similarly, in Virgil's Aeneid, Cerberus appears in the hero Aeneas's journey to the underworld, where he is subdued with a drugged cake, a clear nod to the earlier myth of Psyche. These references in classical texts help cement Cerberus's role in the literary canon as the archetypal guardian of the afterlife, a creature whose very existence represents the finality of death. Beyond these ancient texts, Cerberus has continued to influence literature throughout the centuries. In Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, a cornerstone of medieval literature, Cerberus is depicted as one of the guardians of hell. In the third circle, where the gluttonous are punished, Cerberus is described as a monstrous beast that rips and tears at the souls of the damned. Dante's portrayal of Cerberus is a departure from the Greek myth in that it emphasizes the creature's role as a punisher of the wicked rather than merely a gatekeeper. This interpretation aligns with the Christian understanding of hell as a place of eternal torment, and it shows how Cerberus was adapted to fit new religious and cultural contexts. The enduring image of Cerberus as a terrifying, multi-headed beast in Dante's work influenced countless other depictions of hellish creatures in later Western art and literature. In addition to his appearances in literature, Cerberus has been a powerful symbol in art. From ancient Greek pottery to Renaissance paintings and beyond, artists have been drawn to the dramatic and fearsome image of the three-headed dog. In ancient Greek art, Cerberus is often depicted alongside Hercules, showcasing the hero's 12th labor in which he captures the beast. These depictions not only highlight the strength and courage of Hercules, but also emphasize the fearsome nature of Cerberus, whose presence in art serves as a visual reminder of the boundary between life and death. During the Renaissance, a period marked by a renewed interest in classical antiquity, artists revisited the myth of Cerberus, often depicting him in scenes of the underworld or in allegories of death. These artistic interpretations of Cerberus help to reinforce his image as a symbol of death's inevitability and the formidable power of the underworld. In modern times, Cerberus has taken on new symbolic meanings, particularly in the fields of psychology and philosophy. One of the most notable reinterpretations of Cerberus comes from Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud saw the mythological figures of Greek mythology as representations of the human psyche, with different characters and creatures embodying various aspects of the mind. In this context, Cerberus can be interpreted as a symbol of the three-part structure of the human psyche: the ID, the ego, and the superego. The ID represents the primal instinctual drives of the human mind. The ego is the rational part that mediates between the ID and reality, and the superego is the moral conscience. In this interpretation, the three heads of Cerberus symbolize the complex and often conflicting aspects of the human psyche, with each head representing one part of the mind structure. This psychological interpretation of Cerberus adds a new layer of meaning to the myth, suggesting that the creature's role as a guardian of the underworld can also be seen as a metaphor for the mind's attempts to maintain control over its darker, more primal impulses. Philosophically, Cerberus has also been interpreted as a symbol of the human condition, particularly in relation to the concept of death. Existentialist philosophers who explore themes of mortality, meaning, and the human experience have drawn on the image of Cerberus as a representation of the inevitable encounter with death that every human must face. In this context, Cerberus is not just a physical guardian of the underworld, but a symbolic representation of the barriers that humans create between themselves and the acceptance of their mortality. The fearsome nature of Cerberus reflects the fear and anxiety that often accompany thoughts of death, while his role as a gatekeeper suggests the difficulty of coming to terms with the end of life. This philosophical interpretation of Cerberus as a symbol of death's inevitability and the human struggle to accept it has resonated in various forms of modern literature, film, and art, further solidifying the creature's place in contemporary culture. Cerberus's influence can also be seen in popular culture, where he continues to be a compelling and versatile figure. In modern literature, films, video games, and even comic books, Cerberus often appears as a monstrous antagonist or a symbol of ultimate challenge. His three-headed form, combined with his role as a guardian, makes him an ideal representation of the obstacles that heroes must overcome, whether in a literal or metaphorical sense. For example, in the world of video games, Cerberus is frequently depicted as a formidable boss character, embodying the challenges that players must face to advance in the game. These modern interpretations of Cerberus, while often different from the original myths, demonstrate the creature's adaptability and enduring appeal in various storytelling mediums. The continued presence of Cerberus in literature, art, and popular culture underscores the creature's enduring legacy as a symbol of fear, death, and the boundary between worlds. Whether depicted as a terrifying guardian of the underworld, a symbol of the human psyche, or a formidable challenge in a modern narrative, Cerberus remains a powerful and evocative figure whose story continues to resonate across time and cultures. Cerberus's legacy is a testament to the enduring power of myth and the universal themes that such stories explore. From his origins in ancient Greek mythology to his reinterpretations in modern culture, Cerberus has remained a potent symbol of death, fear, and the boundary between life and the afterlife. His three heads, serpent-like tail, and formidable strength make him an unforgettable figure, one whose image has been etched into the collective consciousness of Western culture. One of the reasons Cerberus has maintained such a lasting presence is the universality of the themes he embodies. Death, as a concept, is both inevitable and mysterious, and Cerberus's role as the guardian of the underworld taps into the deep-seated human fear of the unknown that lies beyond life. In this way, Cerberus serves as a reminder of the finality of death and the natural order that separates the living from the dead. The fearsome image of Cerberus, standing guard at the gates of the underworld, encapsulates the human anxiety about mortality, as well as the desire to understand and perhaps even conquer the forces of death. Moreover, Cerberus's story has been continually adapted to fit the cultural and philosophical needs of different eras. In ancient times, he was a symbol of the physical barriers between life and death, a creature whose very existence reinforced the inevitability of death and the authority of the gods over the mortal realm. During the medieval and Renaissance periods, Cerberus was reimagined within a Christian framework, where he became associated with the punishments of hell and the idea of divine justice. In modern times, Cerberus has been reinterpreted through the lenses of psychology, philosophy, and popular culture, demonstrating his flexibility as a symbol and his relevance to contemporary issues. Cerberus's adaptability also speaks to the power of myth as a means of exploring and expressing complex ideas. Myths, by their very nature, are stories that convey deeper truths about the human experience, and Cerberus's myth is no exception. Whether as a literal guardian of the underworld or as a metaphor for the human psyche, Cerberus represents the challenges and mysteries that lie at the heart of the human condition. His story has been told and retold in countless ways, each time shedding new light on the themes of life, death, and the unknown. In addition to his symbolic significance, Cerberus's story also offers insights into the cultural values and beliefs of the societies that have preserved and adapted his myth. In ancient Greece, for example, the story of Cerberus reflected the Greeks' understanding of the cosmos and the natural order. The underworld, ruled by Hades, was a place of finality, and Cerberus's role as the guardian of this realm reinforced the idea that death was an inescapable part of life. In later periods, as the myth of Cerberus was adapted to fit new religious and philosophical contexts, the creature took on new meanings that reflected the changing attitudes towards death and the afterlife. This ability of the Cerberus myth to evolve and remain relevant across different cultural and historical contexts is a key factor in its enduring legacy. Today, Cerberus continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. His image appears in a wide range of media, from classical art and literature to modern films, video games, and even brand logos. This ongoing fascination with Cerberus suggests that the themes he embodies are still deeply resonant in contemporary society. As long as humans continue to grapple with the concepts of death, the afterlife, and the boundaries between different states of existence, Cerberus will remain a powerful and enduring symbol. In conclusion, Cerberus is more than just a mythological creature. He is a symbol of some of the most profound and universal aspects of the human experience. His role as the guardian of the underworld, his fearsome physical form, and his adaptability as a symbol have ensured that his legacy endures across millennia. Cerberus represents the challenges and mysteries of life and death, serving as a reminder of the inescapable nature of mortality and the boundaries that define our existence. Through his story, we gain insight into the cultural and philosophical beliefs of the past, while also finding new ways to interpret and understand the enduring power of myth in our own time. As we continue to explore and reinterpret the myth of Cerberus, we keep alive the rich tradition of storytelling that has shaped human culture and thought for centuries, ensuring that the legend of the three-headed guardian of the underworld will continue to inspire and terrify for generations to come.